Good morning everyone, welcome back to the Nature Patch. My name is Robyn and today I am going to be picking all of the Silverbeet / Swiss chard in the garden. It's here behind me and the weather is starting to warm up here around southeast Queensland. Today we're going to have about 32-33 degrees, and during the day it just breaks my heart to see how limp and lifeless this chard becomes when the sun comes out. This garden here behind me gets full sun and the Swiss chard it's not really dealing that well with the 33-degree days. So we have been picking and eating this for months now. Swiss chard is one of my favourite leafy greens to grow over winter in southeast Queensland. It takes about 60 days to get to maturity and it just lasts so long. It's one of those plants that you can pick and it'll keep growing, so you can kind of just pick as much as you need. So it's definitely a plant that you don't need to fully remove out of the ground. You can just come and get whatever you need. It's also super high in lots of nutrients, including iron, and I just really love the taste of it. It takes me back to my childhood when my mum would make spinach quiches, and I've really just grown up with this leafy green, hence why I really wanted to grow it in the garden. But today I'm going to be showing you how I preserve it. I'm a big fan of freezing the produce. We're just really not in a climate that canning particularly does too well. Being in a warm climate, we don't also have the infrastructure in the house to be storing a lot of canned goods. So freezing is my go-to way to store a lot of the produce that comes out of the garden. I'll link a few videos down below of how I store and freeze parsley, and I've done a video on pak choy as well. But before the sun comes out, I need to pick all of this. So I've got a bucket here and it's just filled with water. That's going to keep all of these hydrated while I prepare everything and get ready for preserving them. So I'm going to take all of this up to the kitchen and give it a really good wash before I prep it to freeze. So this is a super easy method to preserve your silverbeet or any leafy green really that you want to preserve and freeze. The first step that I'm doing here is I'm just chopping off a lot of the stems of the silverbeet. I usually do use these when I'm cooking, so if I'm using it fresh, I'll just use the stems. But for today, I'm just going to be chopping them off because I want to be able to pack these into my little molds that I have that I'll show you in a little bit. And taking the stems off just allows you to pack a lot more, a lot easier. And the worms just got the rest of the stems today, so they were happy on this hot day. I'm just giving it all a really good rinse. You can see there was just some kind of leaves and different flower petals on the spinach, nothing too major. And then I like to use 2 towels for this method. One to just put the spinach on straight after I give it a rinse, and now I'm just drying some of the spinach, just patting it dry. I'm keeping some of it to use more fresh, and I'm not going to be freezing this just to use in the fridge. Putting it in a container like this when it is semi-dry really does help retain the moisture levels in the silverbeet, and it will last a lot longer and keep a lot more fresh if you put it in a container. I'm sure you've all dealt with wilted spinach in the fridge at some point. It's not the nicest. The next step is I'm chopping the spinach up and I'm filling up a bowl with iced water, and this is going to be important because we're going to be putting the spinach in here after we blanch it. In this pot here I just have some water that is coming to a boil, and all I'm doing is blanching the silverbeet. So I'm putting all of those chopped up bits in here, and I blanched this for about 3 minutes or so. And what this does is just help to retain the colour and a lot of the nutrients in the spinach as well. So once it's been in the pot for a few minutes, I am just taking it out with my little spoon that I have here and putting it straight into a colander in iced water. And the iced water is really important because it just basically makes it stop cooking, because we don't want it to go really soggy or be overcooked at all. And then I'm just giving it a squeeze, just a light squeeze. You don't need to take out all of the moisture because the moisture in the spinach actually helps it to freeze a lot better. I'm putting it into these molds here. These are great. Muffin tin containers are also really good to use, just to kind of get a serving size of spinach. And then once it is frozen, this is kind of what it ends up looking like. And I like to use this in soups, curries, pretty much whatever you want to use silverbeet in, even quiches. All you need to do is cook it up, and the sooner you use this, the better it tastes. I usually keep these in my freezer for about up to 3 months or so. And I like to keep these in a container just so they're really easy to grab out, and they don't get any kind of like freezer burn on them. I really hope you enjoyed today's video and it gave you a few tips on how to preserve your greens from the garden. So thank you so much for watching, and until my next video, happy gardening everyone. Bye!